All right, we are going to look at Zenmap, enumerate. Enumerate means look at everybody on the network and see who's there. We're going to use Zenmap, which is an open source program that allows us to scan a network. It's very popular because it's free and open source. So we type in Zenmap. Oh, my keyboard is not typing. There we go, Zenmap. And this is not it. This is not it. There it is. So Zenmap is actually hosted at nmap.org. Nmap is a command line program for scanning networks. Zenmap is a graphical user interface that uses Nmap to scan a network. So it's much friendlier when you're starting out. And there it is. It looks like a web page from the 90s, built by someone in junior high. And this hasn't changed for so long, I don't know how long it's been. We want to go to download. We are on Windows. And we want this guy, the latest stable release self-installer. So you can see it, the way this page is laid out, it might take a minute to find things. So we're going to download that guy and install it. And that's running very slowly. I don't know. It could be having trouble with the website. It could be across the world that we're downloading it from. Who knows? Most websites don't have files to download stored on just one server. They'll have something called mirrors, which means if I download it and you download it, it might be that I get it from somewhere in China or wherever. You might get it from somewhere in the United States. Owen might get it from Great Britain. So all of these websites, all these servers in various places contain copies of this. That means that if one of them is down, well, it'll flip over and give you access to it from another website. And so depending on which one you hit, which you have no way of knowing from here, it may be faster or slower, because nothing is ever just in one place. Now we're going to open the file, and it is the Nmap installer, which is Zenmap. And I don't think I need that anymore. There he is, license agreement. This is a open source program. And there's really nothing here we have to change. And nothing here we have to change, so pretty easy installation. Now it comes up with another program called npcap. In order to capture packets from the network with this program, it has to insert a little driver that can talk to your network card and capture the information that it is seeing. And that's what that is. This is npcap for capture. So we do want to agree with this. And we leave this the same. We don't have to change anything. All right, that was a lot of work to get that installed. We'll do next and finish. And yes, just like we started out with, you just agree with everything. And before you know it, you have your scanner. And it's done. And we'll go ahead and let it create stuff so we can start the program. And there it is. It's got the little watchful eye there waiting for us. One of the things that we want to do to make sure is that we are connected to a bridged adapter so we can scan everything at home in your little network at home or here. And it's amazing how in the last 5 years, how the number of internet connected devices at home has grown. I have people that'll scan and send a scan in as homework, and they'll have 20, 25 different devices. Thermostats, refrigerators, crock pots, Alexa devices, speakers, TVs, the list goes on. At home, my receiver for my stereo system and my TV, and I have an Alexa, and I have a couple little transmitters that send temperature information. I have all kinds of stuff. So we want to be a bridged adapter connected to our real network. Then we can scan. Never scan a network that's not your own or you don't have permission. Unless you want to get up close and personal with the FBI. Well, I don't know if that would happen, but I'm not willing to find out. That's the ethics part. In IT, you have access. As an IT person, you quite often have access to all the goodies. So you want to make ethically sound decisions. Oh, as a matter of fact, look at here. There's our co-pilot guy. And this is what one of my instructors was asking us, where did that go? Because they like the little icon here. Well, apparently some update removed that, and now it's changed. So they were all excited. So what would our target be? How do we find out what the target of our network is? Was that a rhetorical question? It wasn't. How do we find out what the network address of our network is? What would we do?
Config on.
Exactly. ipconfig/all, our favorite network thing. And oh, there it is. There's my active network with my Intel adapter. This is my host address. That's the specific address of my computer. Owen's going to have something different. Hope's going to have something different. The part that's going to be the same is 10.0.1. All three of us will have this as the first part. And if you're on laptops and you're not connected to Wild West, you should make sure you're connected to Wild West. Otherwise, you'll be scanning somebody else's network, and that's not a good idea. So you should have 10.0.1. That's the designation of the network. So when I'm saying network address, I mean 10.0.1. That's the network address. This last part is different for every host. Host meaning any device that can connect to your network. This is how you tell the difference. 255 lines up with this. This lines up with the host. Now, this defines our network. Now let's look over here and see how we can, well, we know we're going to start with 10.0.1.0, right? Oh, 10.0.1. There's two different ways to do this. There are 0 through 255 potential numbers. 0 is the network address. 255 is the broadcast. We never use those two addresses to communicate on. So there's two different ways that we can list this. We can say 10.0.1.1, which is the first available address in our range. And we can do a dash 254, which is the last available address, because 0 and 255 are special. You can't use those. So 1 through 254 are the addresses in this network. We don't want an intense scan because we'd be here till 4 o'clock. We want to do a quick scan.
Quick scan plus.
Is that what I said? Quick scan. You're right, quick scan plus. If you do an intense scan, it'll give you all kinds of information, but it takes a while. For our purposes, we want to do a fairly quick one. And it's going to start it, and notice it says starting Nmap. And here it is, Nmap, blah, 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 blah. Those are the arguments that this graphical user interface is feeding into the Nmap command line program. So now we wait. Well, I think this also has you scan the local network, but this took a little longer than I expected, and I think that's because I did Quick Scan Plus here because it finds more information. But if I'm just quickly looking at a network, I probably typically just do a quick scan. Quick Scan Plus gives us a lot more information. So let's go up here to this one, 10.0.1.1. Here's our report. It's saying these are open ports. Open port means that it will receive, it is providing a service at that port. And so port 80 and port 443 are web ports where I can get to this guy. So if, I can configure the firewall. So if I go to 10.0.1.1, it connects on port 80. Oh no, it's connecting on port 443, isn't it? Yeah, so it's connecting on port 443. So for me to connect up on that port, the firewall has to be providing that service. And, oh, see here, it identifies it. It's a Fortinet, and it is. It's a Fortinet firewall. It says it's running FortiOS, which is just what it's running. The OS is actually 7.4, so that's pretty close, as to what is actually there. It's only one hop away. Yeah, that's nice. Here's our next one, 10.0.1.4. Well, what the heck is that? It does have an open port at 80. If we go down a little bit further, I saw something in here that said Netgear. And this says Cisco Systems. 10.0.1.4. Yeah, this is my Netgear switch. I'm not sure why it isn't returning anything other than that it's a Netgear. It's just returning it because of the MAC address that it found. So different manufacturers, manufacturer part of the MAC address is this first three. And so there's designated MAC address ranges for manufacturers. And so that's how this program identified it as a Netgear. And that's how it identified this as a Cisco switch. And I can't remember which one of these this is. This might be a 2960. I don't know. And then 10 is, well, what do you suppose 10 is? What can you tell from here? It's a Microsoft Windows. Oh, there it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a Microsoft Windows Server 2016. That's my main Dell server. That's the Hyper-V. Yeah. So here's one that looks like a penguin. I have no idea what this is. It says it's drop bear something or another. 31. Oh, I think that might be my router up there. My, not router, but my wireless access point. That's probably what that is. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of the names. It's a Linux. Oh, there it is, Ruckus Wireless. That's what it is. It's a Ruckus wireless access point. And not surprisingly, it's running a Linux kernel. Many devices like access points, routers, run a Linux kernel of some sort. This actually says Linux kernel. But my Fortinet firewall is based on Linux, but they've taken the Linux and changed it to their own name, FortiOS, but it is still a Linux of some sort. I have no idea what 106 is. It's a phone. Is an Android phone running on Linux? Yeah. Oh, actually, that's the TV. It's running on an Android, which is Linux. So this is a big Android phone, except you can't call anybody. But many TVs are running on Android or Linux of some sort because the operating system is open source. You don't have to pay for it. You can make it do whatever you want. It's common for TVs to have Linux/Android on it. So we learned a lot about our networks. Is that enough to hack our network? Well, we've identified that this is a Visio, and if we know there's some sort of vulnerability in the Visio, we can get in there and do stuff if we wanted. So part of cybersecurity penetration testing is seeing what's on the network. And it's also useful for a network admin to see what's on the network in case there's somebody on there that shouldn't be. Right? Yes.
So does it just scan the network in this building,
Mhm.
in this room?
We determined that by putting in those specific addresses for this room. That's all the possible network addresses for this network, which we determined by doing this. That's how we figured it out. So you could scan something on the internet if you wanted. That's probably not a good idea. Like we could scan 8.8.8.8, that's Google. You could scan it. Scanning a network that's not your own is not the best of ideas. However, oh, you can't get there from here. We could scan that because that is part of this room. I don't know if it'll work from here though. Let's do a quick scan because that is one of my web servers. I don't know if anything will come back or not. I don't remember. Oh, I do have it set up. So there we are. You can scan lab.wncc.edu and you can scan lab.wncc.net. Now from the inside, it's going to look way different than if you're outside the network. If you're outside this network, you're going to see very little here because it only is, I only have just a couple ports open to the internet. Like this one's open to the internet. And then I have like this one's open to the internet because that's where Minecraft runs. But that's about it. I just have a couple ports open to the internet. It's showing that they're open here, and I'm not sure why it's showing POP3 and IMAP here. I'm not even sure why that's showing. I'll have to look at that guy. Shouldn't be doing that. Because I don't have any of those services installed. Now let's see if this one comes up with anything. This is my other. Yeah, it's redirecting to that IP address. I don't know why it's showing all those things that aren't actually there. Because I set up the server and I didn't install any of those things. Maybe the ports are open, the service isn't there. I guess that's something to look at. So that's why you scan things, is to say, oh, well, I didn't think those were supposed to be open. What's up with that? But if I go home and scan it, which would be a good thing for you guys to try, because here, this is on the other side of our firewall and it's part of our network. So you could also scan from here, and I only know this because I know that's how the network is set up. This would scan everything on our DMZ. We, from here, can get to the DMZ, but the DMZ, demilitarized zone, meaning that's where you put web servers, so they can't, if somebody hacks that, they can't get to us. It's a protected area. But we can get to that. We can get to there and we can scan all the IP addresses on that network. And the only way we can tell that's there is because I set up the network and I know that's the addresses. There's not a command you can type in that says, what is the address of a different network? I know that because I set it up. And so this might take a minute to come back, but it shouldn't take too long. But scan lab.wncc.net and lab.wncc.edu from home and see what happens. See if I get the FBI on you. No. That's exactly why these networks are here, is for that sort of thing. Is taking a look. All right.